Hello, friends. Henry Flowers here. Powerful Living Outreach Ministry. Shout out to all my Zoomers online as well, and for you attending here in studio. Picking up again on this idea that the Lord says to us as believers, be a tree. And there are many times in the scriptures, I'm thinking of just about four initially, of where God calls us as believers to be something different than human. And in the realm of powerful living, that is the goal and the call. And so specifically this time where he says, be like a tree that is planted near flowing water, near the river. He says, be like that tree. I was taken aback this week, just the other day, driving, and I see these guys in these big construction like trucks with this big old thing. I think they call that a cherry picker. The dude's up there with the bucket and the truck with the big arm, and he's got a saw going, bzzz, and he's cutting away this tree. And man, they got their hard hats on, they got their safety lines going, and these guys are cutting down a tree. Well, cutting the tree branches right really near, close to a power line. Now everybody should have a really good idea about the real and present danger facing these guys trying to cut back these branches from a power line. So I think the goal is you got to cut back the branches from the power line, because the growth of the branches begins to be such that it can grow over the top of the power line, or they could grow under the power line. It just depends on how they feeling, because nobody really tells a tree where to grow unless you attach something to it that makes it grow a certain direction. But these guys are sitting here trying to cut it back so the tree doesn't eventually knock down the power line, and you got a bigger problem for a whole lot more people than just the few people who are right here cutting down these branches to keep them away from the power line. So they're cutting down, they're doing everything, and they're going, and man, at the last second, I see one guy who's finished, and he cut the one end of the branch that was past the power line, and then he cuts the inside of the branch that was inside the power line, and then he cut it again. So the branch falls off the tree, and then the part that he cut that was outside the power line, that falls off. There's this piece of branch that's left in the middle that's about 12 inches in length, and it's embedded in the power line. Or is the power line embedded in the branch? The power line is embedded in the branch. So this places them in an obvious fix where they're like, okay, we can't cut the power line, because I think they'd like the branch to not be on the power line. Maybe, I think. But it's already grown. Somehow the tree branch grew around and over and became one with the power line. And so now they cut it off before, they cut it off after, and you got this chunk of tree branch hanging from the power line, and it's in there, it's just a dangling. And then that's it. Like, the two have become one. It's going nowhere. And that's it. They done. I thought they might get somewhere, right, and get some kind of tool or something, cut it off. Because I'm thinking, okay, they want to branch off the power line. Nope. They done. They're just going to keep it like that. And I'm sitting here looking at this branch with this power line embedded in it. And I said to myself, Lord, how does that happen? And I felt the Lord say to me, little by little, this branch grew from this tree, got close to the power line, and then maybe as the power line is rubbing up against the little tree branch, maybe it creates some kind of injury or something to the tree branch, and it gets stuck by there, right? And then little by little, the tree grows another, I don't know, I'm not a botanist, I'm not a tree person, I'm just trying to figure this thing out in my mind. And then it grows a little more, and it covers that place where the power line made the injury to the tree, and it does it again, and it does it again. And the power line does it again, and the tree does it again. And so before you know it, you got these layers upon layers that are being added. And then this one little portion of the power line is now embedded in the tree branch. And then before you know it, over the course of time, it grows to 1 inch. And then it grows to 1.5 inches. The watering, the sunlight, the injury again of the power line moving back and forth, and the tree healing itself and growing over that power line. And before you know it, month after month after month, maybe season after season, I don't know how long this thing takes. All I know, there's a big old tree branch about that big around, and there was a power line embedded in the tree branch. This idea of little by little. And I love this part where, you see in the scriptures where God says the whole creation cries out and declares the glory of God, so that mankind is without excuse. And I see this very clearly in this example here with the tree branch, and this whole this little by little, the growth that occurs over the course of time, so little and so small increments of growth that the human eye can't even detect it. But if you look at it one day and then you leave and then you come back months later or maybe a year later, you see the development that happened little by little to where you couldn't detect the little growth. But if you leave and come back, you see what happened over the course of time. And that thing fascinated me, this idea that when God says, be a tree, be like a tree that's planted by the water, I'm fascinated at this illustration because he wants us to be like that. The world constantly wants you to do things the opposite the way God says do it. And that's how we miss God. That's how we have more upset in our lives than we actually need or want. God says little by little, small growth over the course of a long time is how you build success and how you become that tree that's planted. The roots are deep, it's tapped into the river water. It's in the ground. It's not moved when the wind blows it to and fro. And it provides shelter for birds. It provides fruit. It provides shade for those who come up under its protection. And then here comes the world. Here comes the world. The world says, do it now. Get it now. Don't accrue wealth little by little. Man, listen. I know you got to, I know the rent is due. But the casino is open tonight. What's the problem? You take that rent money and you going on down there to the casino, and tonight is your night. You could turn that $500. Just take half the rent money. Just take $500 down there, and you can turn that $500 into $5,000, and you can pay your rent up for 3 months in a row, and you set. That can happen tonight. And don't mess around and pull that slot, man. That slot at the right time, the right slot at the right time. Man, you can set yourself up for life tonight. And we get fooled by that because there are certain situations that we find ourselves in that we don't want to be in those situations. We want to be delivered. And we want to be delivered when? Now. Now, it's possible we could have gotten those situations in a split second. But what's more likely is that we got ourselves in those situations over the course of time. Just over the course of time. Little by little. The Spirit of God says, hey, don't do this. And you say, yep, I shouldn't do that. But then the voice of the enemy comes by and say, you could do it a little bit. A little bit won't hurt. And you keep listening to that voice. Now, God has said, don't do it at all. And then the voice says it, a little bit won't hurt. A little bit won't hurt. You could take a little bit of poison and you won't die. A little bit won't hurt here and there. And before you realize it, the desire to either feel better, feel different about your situation, the desire to be happier, the desire to be stronger, faster, desire to have a bigger, another, right? Here come the urges. I had my son contact me not long ago. He says, I want to be able to master my money. I got to get my finances into place. And I said, hey, son, you got to master the ERs, the ERs. If you master your desire to have another, a bigger, a shinier, right? If you can just quench your desire to have another then you got an opportunity to master your money. And he says, well, I just want to be able to go out and get something to eat without having to look at my bank account first. Master the ERs. Because it's the little by little creeping toward disaster that fools us. And we think, oh, man, I can do it just this once. And this is amazing because it's the exact opposite of what God says. See, God says be like a tree, but listen, the enemy tells you to do that same thing too. It's just the inverse. God says be like a tree. It's the little by little growth that you can't see in a tree overnight. You can't see that little by little. And before you know it, you've turned into something big. You don't see my bride mention our puppy. Man, she's what now? 5 months old, almost 6 months old. And I remember holding her in my arm when we brought her home. Like this, like a loaf of bread. I don't think I could get her head in my arm like this right now and do it her big head 5 months later. But when did it happen? When There wasn't an hour where she was in my arm, and then an hour later I needed 2 arms. It's just this little incremental growth, little by little. And so here comes the enemy that said, man, forget all that extreme stuff where you don't need to do nothing and you can't do this at all. Just, how about a little bit of it? Forget what the scriptures say about alcohol. That ain't the actual whole truth. You know, just a little bit. Just a little bit of alcohol. And maybe that works for you. A little bit of alcohol. And so you indulge in a little bit of alcohol and maybe you fine. But then does the little bit of alcohol turns into a little bit more? And then here come the Rs. Here come the Rs. Here come the Rs. This product that I drink, this alcohol product that I drink, is 15% alcohol by volume. You know what? This don't really make me feel the way it used to make me feel when I first started it. I need something a little bit stronger. You see there? A little bit stronger. A little bit stronger. So now you pick up, you go from the wine that's 15% alcohol, now you're going to get a little bit of, let me pick up that little bit of vodka. That's 43%. Just a little bit stronger. And then over the course of time, you know what? This don't really make me feel the way it used to make me feel. I need something just a little bit stronger. You see where we going with this. The subtleties of life are where the greatest dangers lie. And that's how the enemy can trip you with the Rs. A little bit shinier, a little bit stronger. Another. Oh, it's not enough that you... Oh, yes, I'm going here. I'm about to go here. Yes, I'm going right here. Oh, yes. It's not enough that you have one partner. There's a voice inside your head that says, listen, you got capacity for another partner. That one partner that you have, just all that aggravation and frustration that you have, guess what? That other one over there, that partner won't give you those same ones. That partner is nicer. Oh boy. Oh, it's so subtle. That partner's hair is longer. This body part bigger. Oh yes, the urge, man. You should follow the urge, the little subtle urges for more. Whatever the urge is, and then before you know it, you're in trouble. Now you're hiding your phone from your partner. You got a lock on your phone. And your partner reach over and look at your phone. I don't care if it's your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend. God made us for a relationship, covenant relationship. To be in a situation that says, I'm yours, you are mine, you are my person. It's me and you. He brought Adam and Eve together. He said, man and woman. That's the covenant. Man, you listen to the enemy and he keeps telling you you need another, a bigger, a richer, a nicer. And before you know it, man, You got a lock on your phone. You keeping your phone away from your spouse. You're not going home after work like you used to. You finding other things to do. And little by little, you're going down this slippery slope to the point where you've run into disaster now because you left your phone in the vehicle and your partner went and took your vehicle for a car wash, and you know how your vehicle automatically connects via Bluetooth, and so as soon as you turn the truck and going on and going out to the car wash, your contacts list popped up in here, and your text messages was all in there, and your partner is reading all of the information that you were been hiding for these times because you gave in to the urge. Now disaster has struck. Did that happen overnight? Did that happen suddenly? Nope. It happened little by little because we gave in to the desire of the urge. So when God says be like a tree, and we begin to resemble that little by little growth, he's talking about being tapped into the water of the word and this growth, and then where you provide shelter and fruit and housing and protection and strength. And then here comes the enemy that says, going on down to that casino. Tonight is your night. I know. Listen. The last 3 months that you was playing that lottery, you just missed them numbers. But just give it another shot. Because tonight is your night. You know you should go on home. It's after work. It's late at night. Yeah, your current spouse is on your nerve, your last nerve. Not the third to the last, not the second to the last. Your spouse is on your last nerve. And you know you should take your behind home. But you listening to that voice that says, man, just go spend a little bit of time with the other one. And then make sure now, because you just need to vent and get some of this stuff off your chest. And the other person is a good listener, so just share with that person some of the struggles that you have at home. And you do that. And you do it again next week. And you do it twice the week after that. Month after that, you 3 times. Before you know it, you're caught up in a snare. And your life is being squeezed because you gave in to the little subtle creeping toward, just a little by little, creeping toward disaster. And there you are. And so it's these small, subtle things that we have to be careful about when it comes to the enemy and the temptation that is facing us on a daily basis. But also when it comes to the things of God, this desire that we have to be it, to do it, to have it. God says, be like a tree. And wealth is created little by little, is what the Proverbs, I think it's Proverbs chapter 9. Great wealth is created by little and little, is what the King James says. Just here a little, there a little. You begin to gather wealth and store it, gather wealth and store it. The world's going to tell you, man, go after the big one because you won't need deliverance now. It's funny how we want financial deliverance now, but we didn't get in financial trouble now. It was little by little. We got the financial, this bad the financial decision followed by that bad financial decision, going write this check to cover that bill, and then you go to the check cashing place to float a check for the next 2 weeks to cover the one that's coming in because you want some money now, so you go to the check cashing place. Oh, the interest, I can cover the interest because homie has got me covered. He's supposed to be giving me that back that he owed me from last month, so I'm gonna get that in the middle on the 19th, and you got all these dominoes set up, and it takes one little thing to happen for that whole thing to come crumbling down, and it's a domino effect. And now you're in financial disaster. Did that happen with one choice? Nope. It's all of the little decisions that you made over the course of time. And so the remedy that I find is very simple. I love God's instructions here. This is the book of Zechariah. God is speaking to his servant about the temple being built, about his future plans for Zechariah, God's plans for him, God's treatment of his ancestors in the past. And God says things like, I was faithful to your father's father and the generations prior, and I'll be faithful unto you as I was to him. And these things that God reminds us of that he's done for us over the course of time. Over the course of time. Not many things happen suddenly. It's the little by little, the journey, the small steps, the small increments of growth that build strength to the point where you actually, like the tree, can have your roots grow down and gather the dirt. Roots don't grow down in one day and just grab a chunk of dirt. No, the little by little increment where that little root moves half an inch over the course of 3 days. And it gathers half another inch over the course of the next 3 days. And where it was here up under loose soil, that next half of inch of growth caused that root to get up under a boulder. And then over the next course of 3 days, it was 3 inches further down up under the boulder. Now, over the course of the next month, that root, one root, is now 7 inches beneath a boulder. So if something comes and pulls the tree and puts stress on the tree, it's possible that prior to this root getting 7 inches beneath the boulder, possibly that tree could have been pulled up. But because of the slow, steady growth and that tree root going down up under the boulder, now when the stress comes, the tree doesn't get pulled out. Why? Because in order to pull the tree out, you got to pull the boulder out too. And the boulder's been there for a while. And the boulder is heavier and stronger than the root is. But because the root is wrapped around the boulder, you ain't pulling the root out without pulling out the boulder. But how did that strength come? Did it come suddenly? No, this little by little growth, because of the water and the feeding and the nurturing, these roots grow down and gather strength and power to be able to resist the storms that are coming, to resist the stress, the trials that are coming. And so here he says in Zechariah chapter 4, he's talking to his servant. Let's start let's go to verse 8. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 8. I'll read from the New Living Translation. Then another message came to me from the Lord. Quote, Zerubbabel, is the one who laid the foundation of this temple, and he will complete it. Then you will know, Zechariah, that the Lord of heaven's armies has sent me. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. The 7 lamps represent the eyes of the Lord that search all around the world. Now, then he asked the angel, or the servant of the Lord, the messenger, he asked the angel, what are these 2 olive trees? You see that? Watch this now. He says, what are these 2 olive trees on each side of this lampstand that I'm seeing? And what are the 2 olive branches that pour out golden oil through 2 gold tubes? He says, don't you know? My Lord, I replied. Then he said to me, they represent the 2 anointed ones who stand in the court of the Lord of all the earth. So here's God giving us a picture of heavenly beings in their places in relationship to God, God's temple being established here on the earth. And in talking about building the temple, he gave real specific instructions. Build this there, put this there, cut the rocks like that. Don't use this to cut a rock, use this. Make this wall that high, right, all of these instructions, and they began over the course of time to build the temple. And then he's talking about these heavenly beings being like olive trees. See, here's the imagery again. What God is saying, be a tree. Heavenly beings are being compared to olive trees, and he's telling his servant, he says, hey, listen, don't despise the days of small beginnings. Don't despise the little tedious, worrisome drudgery of doing a little here, a little there to build something. They're building a temple. And he says, listen, make the curtain like this. Make these brass rods with this many rings on it. Do this work, and it seems so tedious, and get this person to carve leaves and grapes and overlay it with gold and put this part and make that part brass. And he says, it's taking a long time. God says, do it. We're building something. Because I want you on earth to show up like what's going on in heaven, to where the anointed of God are like olive trees, standing right there, side by side, deep tap roots, strong, oil running from them. The oil, the olive oil, brings renewing and refreshing and healing and sustenance. It's valuable. You can trade it for different things, man. Right? And so he says, I want you to be like that. So don't despise these small, subtle, tedious tasks that have to be done. He says, stick with it. You stick with it, and over the course of time, through growth, little by little, you can be like massive olive trees. That's what I want for my life. Just understand that God never tells us to do something that we're not doing. God never wastes words. And he never tells us to start doing something if we're already doing it. So when God says to his servant here, when he says, don't despise the days of small beginnings, It's because we're doing it. You've heard this term, dogs never bark at parked cars. It's when you get the movement going. when the dog sees you going somewhere, something to chase after, and all of a sudden they all fired up. But there's a car right over there. Why you ain't barking at those? Because they ain't moving. Man, people rarely want to jump aboard something that's not moving and doesn't see much progress. You starting a business? The days of the beginnings are the hardest days because you see very little growth, and people see very little growth. They might see very little of you. You started your marketing campaign, really, and you're not really out there on social media like you believe you can be one day. And these are the times where the tedious work has to be done, and this is work that gets the roots down. This is the most important work. Pioneering a church, man, we pioneered this ministry, started on January the 7th. And I can see empowerment sessions happening all over the world. Started off in home groups. I believe empowerment sessions will continue to be in home groups. And now we've moved to having empowerment sessions on Sunday mornings, to where people can come in and work on their stuff and get some real clear answers, some how-tos, some tools to work with to go out and to tackle a problem, whatever that branch needs to be cut off so you don't break down the power line, because you don't want to be disconnected from the power. You don't want to be disconnected from the power. That's a sermon for another day. And so these days of small beginnings, pioneering a ministry, early on in a relationship, man, ain't nobody hardly checking for you. It ain't real exciting. You got 2 followers. You got 2 followers, and both of them is connected to you genetically. Don't despise it. Don't do it. There's virtue in doing the initial work, planning, grinding, staying awake at night, building something, investing your heart, praying through it, man, doing the work where nobody sees what's going on. Nobody knows your name. Man, you just stand in there and just little by little, a little work here, a little work there. And you go and you got your 9-to-5 job, and then you got your family from 5 to 9, and then from 9 to midnight, you out there in the studio working on your grind, writing a song, writing a poem. And when everybody else at night is asleep, you up, stand from 9 to midnight. You stand up, sacrificing your sleep, sacrificing your joy, whatever it is that you could be doing otherwise. You going at it and you building something because God has placed something in your heart, and you working on it. You working on your marriage little by little. Yeah, it's a new marriage and things don't seem real exciting right now. You live in a little apartment that you don't really like, and you can see yourself in the future living in that 3,000 square foot home in the nice subdivision with 2 cars and 2.5 kids and the dog. Don't forget about the dog and the white picket fence. Like, you can see those things in your mind, but right now, you man, listen, you in the hood. And you live in an apartment with 4 people around you that have no idea of what it means to be quiet. And all of these trials and tribulations that you endure every day, God said, don't despise these times. I know ain't nobody showing up right now, but if you have something valuable to deliver, they will come. If God has placed that burden in your heart to be something for somebody, to provide something for somebody, to help somebody work through something, if God said that it is established, then don't despise the times of establishing. And it's easy to run out there and be excited about when the thing gets big. But I'm telling you, if it got big without the small beginnings, it is going to fail drastically. It's the little work, the tedious times where you see yourself overcoming. You see yourself having overcome is really what we see. We see ourselves in this financial bondage we're in right now. You see yourself being financially strong and having overcome. But you still don't like where you are because right now you're still in the struggle. And I'm saying to you, stay in the struggle. Just little by little, do right. Resist the resist the more, the bigger, the shinier, another, the nicer, the louder, the fancier. If you just resist it and do right over the course of time, this is a month, 6 months, 8 months, 14 months, 3 years go by. And because you were faithful over few things, the small things, God is now ready and able to make you rule over much. And to where it was once a little sprout, a little seedling, just a little leaf creeping out of the topsoil. Because you didn't despise that small beginning. But you remained faithful in doing the work when nobody was checking for you. When nobody was returning your call because you wasn't a big name. And you had more people saying that you weren't going to succeed than those who believed that you would succeed. He says, don't despise these days because many people are doing it. He's saying, stop it. Steady by steady, little by little, that little leaf. First, the blade, then the ear. Then the full corn in the ear. So this process goes on, and I think it's in the book of Luke. He talks about first you see just a blade of what looks like a blade of grass, and then it grows a little bit more, and then you see a stalk. And then a little bit more, you see a big old giant piece of corn in the stalk. That didn't happen overnight. Little by little. And God says, don't despise these small times. I know some friends that are very successful financially. And they didn't get there overnight. They got a story to tell. And you see the Bentley. You see the big old fancy car. But what you don't see is the times in their past when they had the Honda Civic with the gas tank leak and they could only fill up the thing half a tank of gas is the most they could put in there, because if they fill it up, the thing got a hole in the gas tank and it'll leak out and waste the gas. Well, why don't you just get it fixed? Well, they ain't got the money to get it fixed. That's why they don't get it fixed. But you don't see those days. You looking at the shiny Bentley in the big house and you almost want to despise them and think it came easily. Nah. You didn't see them when they was living in the back of that Honda Civic, eating Spam and crackers. And these days of small beginnings. I know you mad because they got the Prada, but you wasn't there in them days when they was shopping at Goodwill. Because that was all they could afford. But little by little, they kept at it. And friend, little by little, you stay at it. That comes when it comes to your health, man. You're taking something for your health, stay at it. Just trust the process. It's not going to work overnight. Listen, you didn't get sick overnight. There was something that was going on little by little where you stopped doing this or you started doing this. And it's just deteriorating over time, and now all of a sudden you got a problem. The remedy been given to you? Just trust it. Hang in there. Stay at it. Give it some time. 30 days. And track your progress. Write it down. This is what I'm doing right now. And this is how I feel. 30 days after taking this. Okay. This is how I feel this time in the morning. After I did this, this is how I feel. Oh, look back 30 days ago. I felt like that. It was about at a 10. Now, 30 days later, I feel like this after doing the same thing. Okay. That's progress. He says, don't despise these days. Joy will come in the morning, although you might be in weeping right now. Right now, you might be looking like a little blade of grass, but God said if you stay at it, man, you'll be like these two olive trees, standing firm and strong, and not just providing strength for yourself, but you'll be able to help somebody else. That, my friend, is powerful living. And that's where God wants us to be. He wants us to be to the point where we can not only be a blessing to ourselves, but also be a blessing to others. And the strength to be able to deliver financial blessings to others is gathered through work over the course of time, little by little, inch by inch, day by day, night by night, when nobody's checking for you, nobody knows about you. You just staying at it, being steady, being strong, being faithful. And before you know it, somebody will drive by and take shadow up under your leaves and take shelter up under your branches. You be a strong olive tree, being able to weather the storm, and not somebody that just grew up overnight, but over the course of time, your roots reach deep down into the water, and now you have strength because you've anchored yourself upon the rock. Henry Flowers, Powerful Living Outreach Ministries. I ain't going nowhere. I'm coming back. Hello, friend. Thank you so much for being with us in this podcast over the airwaves of YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. Thank you so much for being a part. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and feel free to share this information with anyone who you believe could use a little bit more power in their lives. Speaking of power, be sure to join us on Sunday mornings as we gather together in the Cincinnati area at 5616 Wolf Pen Pleasant Hill Road in Milford, Ohio. We will be in the upper room at General Dentistry. 10:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings is when we gather together. We have an empowerment session immediately after the broadcast. This is where the true powerful living is put into practice. If you want to come together and work on something with me, one-on-one coaching in a group setting, then you want to be a part of the empowerment sessions. I cannot tell you how many testimonies and how much transformation has occurred as a result of these empowerment sessions. You want to be here. The church, being the church, people coming in with their stuff, working on it with me using biblical principles and getting real transformation in real time so that we ourselves can be empowered, then we can be able to go and empower others. My friend, that is what powerful living is. So you definitely want to join us in the empowerment sessions in person, and also you can join us live via Zoom, and the Zoom information is in the description box. Join us 10:30 a.m. every Sunday Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you there. Many of you have been asking how you can give and support Powerful Living Ministries. I have a few options for you. I often go and speak to our young people who are just living in desperate times. Not really sure if I would want to be a young person living in these times with these societal norms that are just banging at the door of their moral houses, and they need help. So the help that I deliver when I go and speak to these young people are through powerful testimonial speeches, motivational speeches, whatever you want to call it, but biblical principles, the same things I deliver in the empowerment sessions and in the podcast is what I deliver when I speak to colleges and high schools. Now, I often go and speak about what I wrote in my book, which is titled Bored to Death. 5 steps to gear up and be about that life. This is a pulling together of personal stories, things that I have lived through, and how I went from where I was living on the streets of Detroit and how I survived the streets of Detroit and created a life that I love. When I had all of the obstacles in my way, I had the perfect recipe to become a statistic. How did I overcome? What did I do? Well, those questions are answered in my book, Bored to Death, in 5 easy steps. I share these steps with young people and I get transformation and I see transformation. Their lives are empowered on a daily basis. This is powerful living in action when I go and speak to these young people. Now, how you can come alongside is a couple of ways. You can obviously give directly to this ministry if you want to reach out to us, powerfulliving2022@gmail.com. You can reach out to us directly and just say, hey, Henry, how can I support your ministry financially? Also, you can text us or call, but likely a text would be better at 513-404-7793. Leave us a message and just tell us, I'd like to be involved financially. How can I support your ministry? And we'll get back to you there as well. Also, you can contact us about purchasing copies of my book so that when I go and speak to the young people in high school, sometimes I'll do middle schools, but most of the time it's high school and college, and those who are usually financially constrained and don't have the opportunity to purchase my book. If you purchase my book, every book that you purchase will be an opportunity for me to put another copy of my books in the hands of our young people, and so they can take home the message that I deliver in person, and they can be empowered and study and see what I did to create a life that I love, and therefore they'll be able to see themselves doing it as well. That's powerful living, and my friend, that is powerful giving, and I hope you will take us up on that opportunity. If you have feedback and you'd like to suggest a show topic, content ideas, if you have questions, if I said something that you don't agree with, whatever it is, whatever kind of feedback that you'd like to give, bring it. You can email us, powerfulliving2022@gmail.com. You can call us at 513-404-7793. However you get your information to us, just understand I will respond to you directly. I am open. Questions, concerns, show ideas, topics, anything you have in reference to feedback, you let me know. And especially, tell us how this ministry has powerfully impacted your life, and I will likely share that on a live broadcast. Thank you so much for being a part of this ministry. I can't wait to see these empowerment sessions pop up all over the country, all over the world, and all over the lives of people. Powerful Living is there for you and me. Thank you, my friends. God bless you.